Hey all! This is Anime Octopus, and today we're diving into an intriguing scenario: what if Naruko's eyes were sealed? This is part 2, where we'll explore the ramifications of this powerful limitation on her abilities and relationships. Disclaimer: the content on this channel is for entertainment and discussion purposes only. I do not own any of the anime footage used in my videos. All rights and credits go to their respective creators and copyright holders. Let's start now. Narrator's POV. As evening descended, Naru ambled alongside Sasuke and his team, feeling a wave of apprehension wash over her. They were en route to a picnic with the rest of the Rookie Nine, and the thought of meeting new individuals left her feeling unsettled. What troubled her most was the awareness that they all knew about her unique situation, the demon within her. The last thing she wanted was to be judged or disliked by Sasuke's friends. No. It will be fine. Naru resolved, shaking her head in determination, blissfully unaware of the amused expressions on the faces of those around her. Sakura glanced at the blonde and, taking hold of her free hand, disrupted Naru's spiraling thoughts. You know, Naru-chan, you have such beautiful hair. Why don't you let it grow longer? Taken by surprise at the sudden affection and compliment, Naru turned in the direction of Sakura's voice, a shy smile forming on her lips. Well, Sasuke-kun suggested I keep it short because growing it out might be too much trouble. Sakura's expression shifted to one of indignation. What? Sasuke-kun? How could you say that? Naru-chan has such lovely hair, yet you make her cut it. Sasuke merely shoved his hands into his pockets, casting his gaze away from Sakura. HN. Shaking her head, Sakura continued, Don't worry, Naru-chan. Since Sasuke-kun is too lazy to help you care for your hair, I can come over in the mornings and help you with it. Naru's eyes brightened. Really? I would love that. With a warm smile, Sakura replied, Then it's settled. You'll have to let your hair grow out, and I'll even braid it for you to keep it out of the way. Naru beamed and instinctively squeezed Sakura's hand in return. Kakashi, who had been silently observing with his book in hand, smiled at the exchange. He had anticipated Sakura's nurturing nature. While she could be intimidating at times, her kindness shone through. That shouldn't be an issue. Naru's hair grows quickly, after all, Sasuke teased, a smirk playing on his lips as he regarded her with a lazy expression. Naru's cheeks flushed with indignation as she released her grip on Sasuke's arm and raised a fist. What did you say, team? Laughter erupted from Sakura and Kakashi, while Sia, who had remained quiet thus far, observed the scene with mild interest. He understood the importance of keeping an eye on Naru. His presence on Team 7 was primarily due to Danzo's foresight regarding Sasuke's potential role as the Kyuubi's caretaker. Sakura pulled Naru closer, away from Sasuke. Don't worry, Naru-chan. Sasuke-kun is just envious because he doesn't know how to handle long hair. Naru laughed and nodded in agreement, appreciating Sakura's reassurance. Sasuke merely clicked his tongue in annoyance and continued walking. Before long, they arrived at Team 7's training grounds, greeted by the rest of the Rookie Nine and their senseis. Blankets were spread across the area, creating a welcoming space adorned with a variety of dishes and desserts. Welcome, my youthful rival and his students, boomed Guy, the exuberance in his voice amplifying the lively atmosphere. Sasuke, Sakura, and Naru winced at the loud commotion, already aware of its source. Alright, Guy-sensei, it's time to introduce Naru to everyone, Sakura declared, guiding the group to where they stood. Guy nodded enthusiastically, his grin widening as he noticed the shy blonde Jinchuriki clinging to Sasuke's arm. Allow me to present Team 8, Naru-san. I am Kurenai, and these are my students, Hinata, Kiba, accompanied by his dog Akamaru, and Shino, she introduced. Hinata stepped forward hesitantly and took Naru's hand. It's a pleasure to meet you, and Naru-chan, she stammered. Naru smiled gently and gave Hinata's hand a light squeeze, causing Hinata to beam with delight. Kiba suddenly bounded forward, getting uncomfortably close to Naru's face. Naru instinctively sensed the presence looming near her, accompanied by an unusual sniffing sound. "I've memorized your scent," Kiba proclaimed proudly, prompting Akamaru to bark excitedly. "Wow! Sasuke, you were right. She's truly beautiful." Before Kiba could finish his sentence, Sasuke swiftly delivered a sharp punch to the back of his head, a scowl etched on his face. Naru's eyes widened slightly, a blush creeping across her cheeks at Kiba's last comment. Sakura looked down at the blonde with concern, questioning whether she had chosen the right words. It was painfully obvious to her that Naru's feelings for Sasuke were evident. The affection etched across her face whenever he touched her or offered her a compliment spoke volumes. Just as Sakura was about to check on her friend's well-being, she noticed a small, bittersweet smile spreading across Naru's face, a kind expression infused with both sadness and joy. "Naru?" Tenten asked, casting a worried glance in her direction. Ino leaned closer, concern etched on her features. "Are you all right?" Suddenly, Naru lifted her head. "And no, I'm fine. I'm just happy. I've never experienced this before." Hinata looked at Naru with understanding, aware of the direction this conversation was taking. Sakura regarded the blonde with a hint of confusion, mirroring Ino's and Tenten's expressions. "I mean, sitting with a group of girls and engaging in typical teenage activities like discussing boys. It makes me truly happy," Naru stated, as if sensing the girl's unease. The others regarded Naru with sympathy, her sheepish grin and the nervous gesture of rubbing the back of her head endearing her to them. "What about you, Sakura-chan? Who do you like?" Hinata asked, swiftly diverting the conversation, much to Naru's relief. "Me?" Sakura responded, glancing at Hinata with innocent surprise as she nodded in affirmation. Well, I like." Sakura fidgeted with her fingers, nervously glancing at Sai, who wore an innocent smile while watching the still arguing boys. "Sai!" Ino exclaimed, causing Sakura to jump. She quickly covered Ino's mouth with her hand, desperate to silence her friend. "Not so loud, Ino pig." Tenten laughed at the boys, who had momentarily paused their game and argument to turn their attention to the giggling girls. Sakura was playfully restraining Ino, whose muffled protests turned into incoherent mumbling. Naru joined in the laughter, envisioning the scene. The chaotic blend of voices and Ino's mumbling only heightened her amusement. "Troublesome," Shikamaru muttered, while the rest of the group shook their heads and returned to their game. However, Sasuke's gaze remained fixed on Naru. She was laughing lightly, her short hair framing her face perfectly, while the flush on her cheeks only served to enhance her innocence. "Nay, Sakura-chan?" Naru called, tugging gently at Sakura's shirt. The pinkette turned to her with a warm smile. "What is it, Naru-chan?" "I wanted to ask, what does Sia-san look like?" "Well? He's quite handsome, with a charming smile and a genuinely kind disposition. And, nay, Sakura-chan, you need to describe his appearance more than just his personality traits," Hinata interjected shyly, a small smile appearing as she observed Naru's puzzled expression. "All right, my apologies. He has dark black hair that falls in gentle waves, framing his face nicely. He possesses a slender smile and remarkably pale skin. He's also quite tall and lean. His eyes are a deep shade of black, captivating enough to make one wish to get lost in them." Naru smiled warmly. "He sounds very handsome." Sakura chuckled softly, a delicate blush warming her cheeks as she tucked a strand of hair behind her ear. "Could each of you describe your appearance to me?" she inquired. The group shifted their attention to Naru, a touch of surprise evident on their faces. They had momentarily forgotten they were speaking with someone who was blind. As Sasuke approached their gathering, holding a small glass of apple juice for Naru, he sighed at the girl's reaction to the blonde's question. Well, Sakura stammered, struggling to articulate her thoughts. Although she was confident she could identify her appearance with relative ease, expressing it in words proved challenging. Ino giggled at Sakura's flushed cheeks, intensifying the pinkette's embarrassment. I can certainly describe Ino, though. Just imagine a large, grotesque pig, that's the perfect representation of her. Sakura exclaimed, her annoyance evident as she crossed her arms defiantly. What? Ino shouted indignantly, drawing the attention of the others, who were intrigued by the girl's quarrel. You two are incorrigible. Sasuke remarked, standing behind Naru with 2 juice cups in hand. He had hoped they might provide the blonde with some insight into their appearances, yet the only expression on Naru's face was a mixture of confusion and a faint, sad smile. Setting the cups down, Sasuke knelt beside Naru and gently took her hands, disregarding her surprised gasp. He then guided Sakura closer, positioning her directly in front of Naru. Sasuke placed Naru's hands on Sakura's face, one on each cheek. Sasuke-kun, Naru murmured, feeling somewhat uncomfortable with such casual contact. She sensed that Sakura was equally perplexed. The moment Naru's hands rested on her cheeks, Sakura tensed. Just then, she felt a soft, furry presence brushing against her leg. She glanced down and placed her hand atop the creature, giggling at the delightful softness. This moment diverted everyone's attention from their previous argument about Kiba's rudeness, as they observed Naru kneeling beside the dog, petting it joyfully. Sasuke, along with the others, smiled at the heartwarming scene. Kiba, however, remained unapologetic, convinced that his observation about Naru's beauty was entirely accurate. Sakura then took Naru's hand and led her towards the remaining group members. Naru, this is Guy-sensei, she introduced. Naru nodded respectfully. It's a pleasure to meet you, Guy-sensei. Guy gazed at her intently, his eyes brimming with emotion, causing the others to sweat in anticipation, knowing his tendency for dramatic outbursts. Ah! Guy suddenly shouted, scooping Naru into his arms, making her exclaim in surprise as her feet left the ground. You are just too youthful, my youthful friend. Never lose that youthfulness that shines so brightly within you. Once Sakura successfully detached Guy from the frightened blonde, she introduced Lee, who offered a similar enthusiastic greeting as his sensei. Tenten greeted Naru warmly with a bright smile and an exuberant hug, excitedly discussing how delightful it would be to spend time together at the hot springs. Learning that Naru had never visited one, largely because Sasuke was not permitted to accompany her, only fueled Tenten's determination to organize a girls' night at the hot springs. Neji, maintaining a serious demeanor, approached Naru with a respectful greeting that caused her to blush slightly at the depth of his voice, much to Sasuke's irritation. Sakura continued with the introductions, introducing Asuma's team. Naru felt slightly intimidated when Ino suddenly enveloped her in a bone-crushing hug, prompting Shikamaru to smile and mutter that such interactions were exceedingly troublesome. Kuji, whose youthful voice was mostly muffled by the large bag of potato chips he was contentedly devouring, drew a fond cute from Naru. Sasuke approached Naru and placed a reassuring hand on her shoulder, startling her slightly. Naru, it is good manners to introduce yourself properly to everyone. Naru swallowed hard and nodded, suddenly feeling shy and anxious. She placed both hands behind her back and shuffled her feet nervously. It's a pleasure to meet you all. My name is Uzumaki Naru, please take care of me. She concluded with a slight bow. In response, everyone chuckled and exclaimed in unison, welcome to the gang, Uzumaki Naru. Naru gazed at them in astonishment, tears unexpectedly welling in her eyes before cascading down her cheeks. Sasuke, alarmed at the sight of her crying, rushed to her side, closely followed by the others. And Naru, what's wrong? Are you okay? He asked, concerned that perhaps it was too soon for her to meet everyone. Wiping her eyes, Naru smiled up at them with a radiant grin. I am happy. Their laughter filled the air, and soon Naru joined in, her heart lightened by their camaraderie. The day was unfolding beautifully. Later, Naru sat on the blankets alongside Hinata, Sakura, Tenten, and Ino, all of them joyfully sharing a slice of chocolate cake. Kurenai had brought the cake as a welcoming gift to their little group. The girls exchanged giggles and laughter over various light-hearted topics, but when the conversation shifted to boys, Naru's face flushed a deep crimson. So, Naru-chan, What is your relationship with Sasuke-kun? Ino asked, leaning in closer to the blind girl, who paused her cake eating to look up at Ino with her clouded eyes. Naru's cheeks reddened further, prompting excited squeals from the other girls. Well, we are just very close. I mean, Sasuke-kun has taken care of me for years. The blonde mumbled shyly. The group erupted into giggles, their joy enveloping Naru like a warm embrace. Well, you have feelings for him, don't you? Sakura inquired as she turned to observe the group of boys where Sasuke was engaged in a heated discussion with Neji. While Sakura had once been an admirer of Sasuke during their time at the academy, her feelings had evolved over time. Through their shared battles and experiences, she now felt a deep admiration for him rather than mere infatuation. Naru remained silent, her emotions were far more profound than mere affection. She loved him. At that moment, Naru harbored a singular desire. While her ultimate ambition was to become Hokage, that aspiration felt distant. After forming numerous friendships and connecting with many individuals, her immediate wish was simply to see them. She had a vague sense of their appearances, more a product of how their voices resonated with her than any visual memory. However, the ability to truly see them would be infinitely more fulfilling. Just trust me, Naru, Sasuke encouraged, casting a reassuring glance at the blonde. Sakura, remain still for a moment, he instructed. Sakura nodded, though she was uncertain of his intentions. The teachers and the boys had gathered nearby, equally curious about Sasuke's plan. Naru, Sakura is tall with a delicate yet well-toned physique, he began. Naru nodded, her hands trembling slightly on the pinkette's face. Her skin is pale, creamy, and incredibly soft, she has a small yet innocent smile. Sakura felt a warmth blossom at Sasuke's compliments, but when Naru's hands trembled again, she smiled and placed her own hands atop Naru's, causing the blonde to freeze momentarily. It's all right, Naru-chan, Sakura reassured gently, hoping to encourage her to explore her features. Naru nodded, gradually tracing her fingers along Sakura's face, outlining her lips. She was pleased to find that Sasuke's description was remarkably accurate. What do you feel, Naru? Sasuke asked, his gaze fixed on the blonde. She has high cheekbones, small lips, almost like a heart-shaped face, and... Sakura beamed, I have jade green eyes. Naru smiled gently as she continued to trace her fingers over Sakura's face, momentarily pausing when she encountered the soft texture of Sakura's bangs. She had determined that Sakura's hair was slightly shorter than her own. Naru, do you recall what a cherry blossom tree looks like? Sasuke inquired. Why yes. They were quite beautiful. I used to observe them often, Naru replied. Sasuke nodded, that's the color of Sakura's hair, which is why her parents chose to name her Sakura. Naru continued to scrutinize Sakura's features, a look of concentration evident as she endeavored to envision her friend as clearly as possible. After a moment, she withdrew her hands from Sakura's face and rested them in her lap, beaming. Sakura-chan, you truly are beautiful. Kakashi approached from behind Sasuke, resting a hand on his shoulder. Sasuke, how did you? Sasuke shrugged and turned to the group. Naru can perceive chakra, it functions more like a sixth sense. While she cannot see details, she can discern chakra outlines, akin to the Byakugan. She mentioned that some things appear outlined in blue. Shikamaru stepped forward. Then why was Naru denied entrance to the academy? This ability could have been a significant advantage, especially when confronting adversaries. That's because it's challenging for her, Sasuke explained. Most of what she perceives is like a murky haze. When she focuses, like she is now with Sakura, she can utilize it to gain an outline of a person, but most of the time, everything else remains indistinct. Guy suddenly interjected with enthusiasm, then, my youthful companions, I propose a plan. The man clad in green spandex exclaimed, capturing everyone's attention. Since Naru can sense chakra, we can leverage that to our advantage. Everyone stared at Guy in confusion, and Sasuke sighed, realizing that coming here might have been a mistake. "Naru, my youthful child, what is your dream for the future?" Guy called out, stepping closer to the blonde teenager. Naru blinked a few times, a sheepish smile gracing her lips. "I wanted to be Hokage." Shikamaru's eyes widened. He understood that Naru aspired to become a shinobi, but aspiring to be Hokage was an immense ambition, especially when one had not been given a fair opportunity to prove themselves. Given her tenet, the likelihood of pursuing any other career, or even receiving assistance, seemed virtually impossible. Guy nodded enthusiastically, a sparkle in his eye, and suddenly propelled Naru to her feet, leading her to a clear area where the others followed. "Okay, Naru, stand like this," Guy instructed, guiding her into a defensive stance. Sasuke watched in horror as he realized Guy's intentions. The only thought racing through Sasuke's mind was to put an end to this situation, immediately. Just as Sasuke prepared to intervene, a hand grasped his shoulder. He turned to glare at his sensei. Ma, Sasuke. Guy is a trained instructor, he would never harm a student," Kakashi said, offering his signature eye smile, although he was also attempting to reassure himself that everything would be fine, as he somewhat trusted Guy. "Okay, Naru, I am going to attack, but do not worry, I won't harm you. What I want you to do is feel the chakra around you and rely on your other senses. Take a deep breath and channel your chakra through your feet into the ground." Naru nodded and closed her eyes, confident in her ability to summon her chakra. In truth, she possessed an abundance of it, making the task relatively straightforward. The blind Jinchuriki took a deep breath, feeling a surge of power swirl within her. Gradually, she directed the chakra to her feet, attempting to send it into the ground. Suddenly, the familiar darkness she typically saw transformed into light blue, fog-like tendrils that seemed to emanate from beneath her feet. She could faintly discern her own outline as the tendrils began to spread across the ground. It was as if she were perceiving sonic waves crafted from chakra. The ground pulsed rhythmically, each time she released chakra, it reverberated off various objects, allowing her to infer their shapes, whether they were trees or rocks. The sensation was exhilarating. It felt as though she were truly seeing. Although the images were blurry and occasionally flickered away, she was able to perceive. Gradually, she concentrated more chakra into the visualization, rewarded with an expanded range of perception. It was as if everything she once thought lifeless radiated energy, presenting itself in sonic patterns that enabled her to see. Guy and the others observed with curiosity and excitement. If Naru could master this, they could begin training her in the ways of becoming a shinobi. "Ready, my youthful Naru!" Guy exclaimed. Naru nodded affirmatively, firming her stance. Though her eyes appeared to wander aimlessly, she perceived the chakra waves reverberating off her surroundings, alerting her to their presence. Guy's voice provided her with a clue to his location, allowing her to amplify the chakra she was emitting. This was reminiscent of how bats utilize echolocation, she mused. Guy assumed a combat position. While he would not unleash his full speed, he also did not intend to take it easy on her. The most effective method of instruction involves presenting the most challenging steps first, enabling the learner to conquer subsequent tasks with greater ease. With that, Guy sprinted toward her, aiming a punch at her face but controlling his force to ensure he could halt his momentum if necessary. Naru felt a surge in her chakra and could almost visualize Guy's outline hurtling toward her. A wave of surprise washed over her at his considerable size, and she instinctively stiffened. However, as she focused more intently, the world around her seemed to decelerate. A smile crept onto her lips. She could do this. Onlookers gasped in horror, witnessing the blonde teenager standing motionless while Guy charged without slowing. This could end disastrously. Sasuke gritted his teeth, preparing to leap in front of Naru, but before he could act, the unexpected unfolded before their eyes. Naru ducked just in time, Guy's punch narrowly missing her face by mere inches. She crouched down and attempted to sweep her left leg beneath him, but he adeptly leapt into the air, executing a backflip away from her. Naru stood in astonishment, her eyes wide. Guy flashed a smile, giving a thumbs up while striking his signature pose. You see that, my youthful Naru? With this method of training, you can still become a ninja. Sasuke glanced at Naru, smirking at the broad grin spreading across her face. Perhaps this day was not as dismal as anticipated. He could still train Naru. Kakashi observed with a smile, remarking, "She's a natural-born ninja." The group erupted into cheers, congratulating the blonde girl with pats on the back. Sasuke placed a hand on her shoulder, saying, "I think it's time you introduce yourself again." With a bright smile, Naru replied, "My name is Uzumaki Naru. And I am going to become Hokage." Later, Sasuke found himself carrying a sleeping Naru on his back as he bid farewell to the rest of the Rookie Nine. Today had turned out to be a good day after all. After utilizing her new chakra sight, Naru had taken the opportunity to observe everyone, gaining a clearer understanding of their appearances. Once she had settled comfortably, exhaustion overtook her, and she drifted into a peaceful slumber without a care in the world. Her arms were lightly wrapped around his neck, clutching his shirt, her head resting on his right shoulder. He walked slowly back to her apartment, a small smile playing on his lips. Upon entering, he attempted to rouse Naru for a change, but she merely mumbled that she was too tired and would bathe tomorrow. Sasuke sighed and decided to let it go. However, before he could leave, he felt a sudden tug on his shirt, prompting him to turn back toward Naru, who was now gripping his shirt tightly. "Please stay," she murmured softly. Sasuke shook his head and sat on her bed, planning to leave once she fell asleep. He would return in the morning before she awoke, anyway. Naru shook her head in refusal. "Please stay here tonight. I just don't want to be alone." She shifted in the bed until her back was against the wall, lifting her duvet. Sasuke sighed, slipping off his Anbu jacket and tossing it onto the floor. He then climbed into bed beside her, pulling the blonde girl close. Naru instinctively nestled against him, her hand fisting into his black shirt. "Thank you, Sasuke-kun," she whispered. Sasuke pressed a gentle kiss to the top of her head and rested his hand atop her clenched fist, closing his eyes. The soft, rhythmic breathing of the Jinchuriki indicated that she was already in a deep slumber. Gradually, he surrendered to the encroaching weight of sleep. "Uchiha Sasuke," called the third Hokage. Sasuke materialized before the desk, kneeling, his Anbu mask obscuring his features. "Yes, Hokage-sama," he replied. The third took a contemplative puff from his pipe, studying the young Anbu before him. "I have a new mission for you. I believe you are uniquely qualified to handle it." Sasuke nodded, raising his gaze to meet the Hokage's. The Hokage gestured for him to rise and sighed. "I require you to oversee someone. However, this will be a round-the-clock commitment. You are to care for this individual until I instruct otherwise." Sasuke grimaced, disliking babysitting missions for their drawn-out nature. "Forgive me, sir, but why entrust me with such a task?" The Hokage smiled gently. "Because you are the only one I believe can save her." "Her?" Sasuke mused, struggling to conceive of anyone fitting that description. He assumed he would be tasked with caring for another privileged, insufferable brat. "Uchiha Sasuke, you are to become the official caretaker of Uzumaki Naru, the Jinchuriki of the Kyuubi no Kitsune." Sasuke's eyes widened in surprise. "Naru. But, sir, you know I could never. After what Itachi did to her. She would never want to be near me. Surely, there are more suitable individuals in our ranks to care for her, Hokage-sama." The Hokage shook his head sorrowfully. "Sasuke, that is precisely why I need you to assist her. You understand her better than anyone else in the world. You will operate under Anbu confidentiality, so she won't know your true identity. I believe you possess the strength necessary to help her regain her footing." Sasuke regarded the Hokage thoughtfully. Perhaps he should accept this mission. It could provide him with an opportunity to atone for his brother's actions by supporting the young woman. The cruel circumstances surrounding Itachi's betrayal had only served to elevate the Uchiha clan's notoriety. Please, Sasuke." The Hokage's plea jolted Sasuke from his contemplation. Was he truly being implored? How dire was her situation? Her dream was to become Hokage so that she could earn the recognition she craved. Unfortunately, due to her disability, she has been barred from entering the academy. I fear I have seldom seen her smile. When she does, it appears forced. She is mired in despair, unable to rely on herself, and no one wishes to care for her because of her tenant. I genuinely believe you can save her, Sasuke. I am not merely asking this as Hokage but as a guilt-ridden grandfather striving to assist his grandchild. Please. Sasuke gazed at the Hokage, his heart tightening. Her aspiration to become Hokage, only to have it stripped away due to circumstances beyond her control, was profoundly tragic. Hokage-sama, I accept this mission. I vow with my life to protect her and guide her out of her despair. The Hokage's expression brightened. Thank you, Sasuke. Sasuke-kun. Sasuke-kun. Hey, Sasuke-kun. Bang. Sasuke winced in discomfort, clutching his head tightly. What on earth are you doing, Naru? Naru pouted and crossed her arms defiantly. I've been trying to wake you for at least 15 minutes, but you wouldn't budge. I had no other choice. Sasuke sighed, recalling that he had stayed at Naru's place. He realized she didn't own an alarm clock. Now, they were both pressed for time to prepare for their mission today. Moreover, he hadn't even informed his father of his whereabouts last night. This was quickly becoming an exceedingly challenging day. He let out another sigh. That dream had left him in a foul mood. Why had he been dreaming about that, the day the Hokage first assigned him the role of caretaker? Naru chuckled as she heard Sasuke groan. Come on, Sasuke-kun. Today is my very first mission. I'm so excited. Sasuke sighed again and ran a hand through his hair. Naru's heightened energy meant he wouldn't be getting any respite today. It appeared they were in for a long day ahead. Hey everyone, that's all for today. If you enjoyed the content, please remember to like, share, and subscribe to my channel for more exciting updates. Your support means a lot to me. Thank you, and best wishes. Anime Octopus.